Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rachel Williams, and I am one of the California chapter leaders for Children's Health Defense, and we are really honored and excited to host this event today. Thank you. Thank you for all of you who traveled from far away to be here with us, and we are so thankful to Michelle and her family for coming. We are also so grateful for Jason, David, and Jaden's journey and his family, and for letting us host our event here. And I'm going to let Jason start us off by just sharing about how Jaden's journey came about and about the work he does in our movement. And he can point you to his son, too. His son is here with us, which is such a great honor. So I'm going to let you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Showing up here today means something that we're different than everyone else. We care. Not just about yourselves, about others, futures, about other children, and families. Right, Jaden? And I'm humming to me. I got into this because of my son, Jaden. I wish I would have known someone came out publicly like this and told the truth in the beginning. I would have made the same mistakes for my son and vaccinated him and poisoned him. When my son was 6 months old, he had taken I think it was a DTaP shot, and in the hospital, when she pulled the shot out, he went to a grand mal seizure for an hour and a half. They used the basic scare tactics on me: you don't give it to your son, you're the bad guy, first-time parent. They have a great way of selling it. The best way to sell something is fear. Right. People will buy anything. If you don't take this, you're gonna die. All right, I'll take it. I mean, that's what people do, right? When we get tricked. And that's why people like us are out here, so people don't make the same mistakes as we do. Jaden's had a rough life, went through hell and back, 22 pills a day, 25,000 pills by the time he was 5 years old, not a day without a seizure. Oh my God. I started thinking to myself, is like, what am I putting him in every day? And he's still having seizures every day. I don't see results. I mean, if they were fixing him, I'd say, all right, cool, let's do it. But it's not, it's made him worse and worse and worse. It's like going to this mechanic keeps ruining your car. You'd never do that with, but I was doing it with my son because that's the American way, I'm sorry to say. We just poison ourselves. We just put more and more chemicals into our bodies. And what I've learned over the years with Jaden, I think he's taught me more than I'll ever teach him, is if it's not natural, it doesn't belong in your body. He taught me patience, love, kindness, energy, and just taught me how to be a better person. I'm in love with my son. I know how people love their kids. I don't want to see anyone suffer like we did. That's why we come out with our story. Enough of my crying and weaning and whatever. I'm still grateful today. Thank God a million times that Jaden's here. Quality of life. Most because what he has are on ventilators and feeding tubes, living in hospitals, over-medicated, sedated, zombies. When I stopped following the protocols, things changed, and that's where we're at today. Yeah, cannabis is a huge piece of the puzzle, but there's so much more than that. It's natural, and we've been tricked by Big Pharma. And if it, like I said, if it's not natural, it doesn't belong in your body. God doesn't make all these plants, herbs, and spices for nothing. He doesn't make all these vegetables and fruits with all these different colors for nothing. He makes it for our body to nourish, and we don't nourish him. We take shit for taste. Excuse my language. Amen. It's shit. I'm just being honest. Actually, shit's probably safer than the food we eat. It's unbelievable, and we've been tricked. It's all connected, and they want to keep us sick. A patient lost, a customer lost. You know what I'm saying? As you guys know, Jaden's journey, we never sold out. We've had a lot of opportunities. We're still the same old small business that cares. We might not be getting anywhere lately, and because the government's taxes, fees, and everything have killed us, but at the end of the day, we're still surviving, and we're helping people and changing people's lives. And I'm so grateful to have someone like Michelle Spencer come to our store that wants to preach and protect people in the future and tell her story and her experience and the truth. They call us anti-vaxxers, they call us anti-pharma, but the truth is we're pro-truth. We're not anti-shit. Amen.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Children's Health Defense, for allowing me to be here today. I am honored to be here and honored to give Jaden the NAET treatment. Juliana's been telling me I need to do that for months now. I'm glad I got to do that. So, yes, I'm Michelle Spencer. I'm a fetal demise whistleblower. I've been speaking out about the vaccine harms, the COVID vaccine on pregnant women, and vaccines on the children's schedule. Some people ask, like, why am I doing this? I'm doing it for Jaden's. I'm doing it for Adam's. I'm doing it for Nathan's. I'm doing it for all the kids who have been vaccine injured. And I'm doing it for God's babies. And I just encourage everyone to do it for them. Do it for God's babies. So every time I tell my story, I'm blown away again. I just sat with Ron Owens, a whistleblower for CDPH, earlier today, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I have some really good news that I'm just going to share first that I'm excited about. I had a nursing student yesterday, and I gave her all the information about the hepatitis B vaccines and the COVID vaccines, and she was like, yes, I think like you, and it's really hard to go through nursing school because everyone's like going against me all the time. And I said, no, we need more nurses like you. And then another nurse at the nurses station, she had a patient who had refused the hepatitis B vaccine for her baby, and the doctor came up and said, oh no, she didn't refuse, she wants it now. And when the doctor walked away, I said, she does not want it. And I gave that nurse all the information about the hepatitis B vaccine, and she was like, well, can you go with me and talk to this parent because I don't want to give it? And I said, of course I can. And so I helped her go to give informed consent to this parent, and the parent said, yeah, I don't want it. She said, those doctors really push you, don't they? That's what the parent said. And I'm like, we need change. And I have told my boss this so many times, and every time I bring up any issues to my boss, she shuts me down immediately. So basically, I am just trying to rip off that rug. I'm tired of the truth being pushed under the rug. And I am so thankful that nurses who have a history of letting things go under the rug are finally starting to lift that rug. So I'm just excited. That was yesterday. So my story begins though. In 2020, I was transferred to postpartum to take care of moms and babies, and I was so happy to be transferred to that floor because I love moms and babies, and I had previously worked on the cardiac floor taking care of patients with cardiac issues, and it was just it was nice to have a new change. And I told my mom when I transferred to postpartum that I believe God put me on this floor. And then I went through orientation, and in orientation I had to give a hepatitis B vaccine. And I didn't know anything about vaccines at that time. Very little. I had been injured by a flu vaccine, but I didn't realize it all the way at that point. So when I gave that baby the hepatitis B vaccine, I felt disgusted with myself. And I knew I never wanted to do that again. And so I told my mom that night that I need to go back to the cardiac floor. I can't poke these babies. It doesn't feel right. And she said, do not quit. Those babies need you, and you're saving them. And I just thought, okay, so how am I going to get out of this? And my mom was my best friend, and I had seen my mom almost every day. She would come to my house and get a NAET treatment. And she had had high blood pressure her whole life, and she didn't like to take medications because they just normally would make her worse because of side effects. And so I would treat her with NAET treatments. And over the course of 1 year, her blood pressure came down to a normal level without medication. And so she would come over every night when I'd get off work and I'd do a treatment on her. And she would tell me, do not quit, those babies need you, and you're saving them. So after that one event where I gave that shot, I went down the rabbit hole on hepatitis B vaccines. And instead of quitting, I started giving informed consent to the mothers. I started telling them secretly, with a very nervous, I was like, you can always wait. And I didn't really give them all the information. I would just try to put it off. And then now I'm just flat out like, your baby doesn't need this. It has 250 micrograms of aluminum. It's for a sexually transmitted disease. Your baby's not gonna have sex with anybody. You know, I'm so much like more outspoken now compared to when I first started giving this information. So, you know, I'm giving informed consent, I'm going through orientation, and then I start working on my own. And then the COVID vaccine, there was word that it was going to start rolling out on patients around March of 2021. And I already knew from what I learned from the hepatitis B vaccine and realizing I was injured by a flu vaccine previously that this is not going to be good. So just to put into perspective, prior to 2021, we would have 4 stillborns in the hospital per year. Out of like 10,000 births, you'd have 4 that were born dead. And so that's not a very high number. So in 2021, around March, all of a sudden, I would come to work and there would be a stillborn on the labor and delivery side. And I would keep going to work and I'm like, why are there stillborns every time I come to work? And it would appear that there were like 4 per week. And this was in the beginning of March of 2021. And so I'm like, what is going on? These babies are dying. I start asking my supervisors, I'm like, every time I come to work, there's a dead baby. Why? And I mean, I know why, and but they're all, you know, stating everything but the obvious. They're like, there's pesticides. Global warming is a good one, right? No. That was one of them. And then mothers aren't that healthy these days. And I'm like, anything but the obvious. And so I keep going to work, keep seeing dead babies, and it's like really hard to work there. It's like devastating. Plus these mothers are having cardiac issues, they're bleeding, they're having clots, their blood pressure is so high, and then the babies are having respiratory issues and all these things going on. So I kept going to work, and then in November of 2021, my mom got sick, and I took her to the hospital. And sorry, I didn't know if I was...
You're good.
I'm good?
No, you're good.
Okay. I took her to the hospital, and they basically threw her in a back room to die. And when I dropped her off, I said, make sure they don't give you remdesivir, because I didn't know quite why all the way yet, but I knew that my mom didn't do well with medications, and I knew that that was going to be too toxic for her. And, but, you know, that was the protocol that they unleashed on everybody who had COVID, and that medication shuts down your kidneys and makes you drown in your own fluids.
Right.
And I didn't know all of that at the time, but I knew that, make sure they don't give that to you, you just need oxygen and fluids. And so when she got there, she told them that. She said, don't give me any medications, just give me oxygen and fluids. And at 2 in the morning that night, they put her on remdesivir.
Dang.
Right, and so after 4 days, my mom declined, and when I finally got a hold of somebody, which they treated me like such a burden the whole time. Anytime I tried to call to get information on my mom, they would just act like I was just the most annoying thing ever, and they would just like, the phone would just drop. And after 4 days, I finally got a hold of somebody, and they said, oh, we're giving her remdesivir. They named off all these different medications. I said, why are you giving her that? She said not to give that to her. And they said, well, it's our protocol.
That's it.
And then, yeah, and I knew after that my mom was gonna die. So the next 10 days was agony. I kept trying to get a hold of my mom, and it was awful, and I kept begging to go in there to be with her, to help her, and they said, we can't let you in, it's our protocol. And I'm like, what protocol? I mean, what does it matter? I'm like, I would stay in there wanting to leave the room. Like, I'm not gonna expose anyone to COVID. Like, I can take care of COVID patients when I'm at the hospital, but I can't take care of my own mother. And they would just say, it's our policy. They didn't know what else to say. They're like robots. And then the day before she died, somebody called me and said, okay, she's gonna die this morning, you can come in and say goodbye. When I got there, she had been laying in her own mess, her hair was all matted, she had caked blood on her lips, like, they totally just threw her in a back room just to die. And it was awful. But when she saw me, she perked up, and she said, is there a chance? And I said, yes, of course, Mom, there's a chance. You wanna try? You wanna try the ventilator? And she said, yes. And so I called the nurse in. I said, my mom wants to try the ventilator, knowing already she's gonna die. She's already past the point of no return, but I didn't tell her that. But the nurse came in. I said, my mom wants to try the ventilator. And she said, well, then I have to call the doctor. And I said, yes, call the doctor. And the doctor came in and took her away to take her to ICU. to go on the ventilator. And before he took my mom, my mom said, my Logie, my sweet girl, she's crying. Her eyes are rolling back in her head. Her oxygen's in the 60s, but she's like thinking about my kids. Like, it's just so sad. And so she went to ICU. She lasted a few more hours, and they let me in again to come say goodbye again. And she was tied up in restraints, and her teeth had been knocked out. So many things went wrong. And being a nurse, everything went wrong. I would never treat a patient like that inhumane. And so I told my brother that day, when my mom passed away, that they will pay for this. I will never let this go. They messed with the wrong nurse. And I'm going to expose the evil in the hospital system for what it is. And I will not stop. And so I kept going to work. I had no choice, really. I didn't want to. But I kept hearing my mom say, do not quit. Those babies need you, and you're saving them. And by the way, every time I treat a child, I know my mom is saying, just treat him. Just treat her. They need it. Like, it's every time I treat, like him, even right now, I was like, my mom's like, yes, just treat him, like, she just wanted to gift people like that. And it's just, her spirit is amazing. But I kept going to work, and I kept seeing dead babies. And then in 2022, August 2022, I went to work and I saw this email. And the email said, as you all know, there's been an increase in fetal demises. And in the month of August, there were 22 of them. Yes, and that ties with the number of July of 2021. And this is a record number for the hospital. And if you really dissect that sentence, it's saying there's an average of 20 dead babies born every month for 1 year. July 2021, right after that COVID vaccine rollout. And that's insane. We used to have 4 per year, and now we have like 20 per month, right? That should have been the hugest safety signal for the entire world. It should have been a public health emergency at that moment that this lady even wrote that email. And so that's data right there, because the woman who wrote this email is like pro-vax. So there was no way that she's correlating this with the vaccine. But she's writing the data out right there. And so the emails continue to say is super cold. It should have said, because of the increase in dead babies, we should figure out what the hell is going on. This is an emergency. It didn't say that. It said, because of the increase in dead babies, you nurses need to brush up on your policies and learn how to handle a dead baby's body.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I heard it's our policy so many times. When, you can't save your mother, it's our policy. So no, I'm done with your stupid policies. Policies should never override human life. And so I took the email and I hesitated for half a second. I was like, I could get fired, but oh well. They already threatened to fire me, in October when I didn't get the COVID vaccine, and they didn't fire me then, so oh well, right? So I sent the email to my friend Susanna, who's with a volunteer for Children's Health Defense, and she sent it to RFK. And so, yes. And that's just God, because what are the odds that I even have somebody who could send that to RFK? I mean, he's, anyway. It's just what are the odds? And so he took that email and he sent it to several investigative reporters. He said, take care of this. And a few reporters started calling me and saying, hey, will you speak out about this email? And I mean, prior to that email, I would have never been one to go out and speak about this stuff. Like, I was timid and it's just not how I used to be. And, my mom's death lit this fire in me. But anyway, I said, sure. And I started speaking out. I ended up on Del Bigtree's show, and then my workplace caught on, and they investigated me. And they asked me all these questions. They were like, do you know it's against HIPAA to open up other patients' charts? And I'm like, yes, I didn't open any charts that aren't mine. I only looked at patients' charts that belong to me. And they're like, did you violate HIPAA on this day when you looked at this patient's chart last year for 20 seconds? I'm like, from last year? If you guys were really that concerned, why would you bring it up from last year? And they were just trying to get me to admit to violating HIPAA, which I didn't. And so after 40 minutes of being questioned about why I shared this email, they said, are you aware that it's against company policy to copy and paste an internal document? And I said, why are you wasting your resources investigating why I copied and pasted an email? You guys need to be investigating why babies are dying.
Amen. Amen.
And they said, okay, thank you for being forthcoming. There's no further questions. You can go back to work. I was like, I can go back to work. I really thought I was going to get fired that day, but I didn't. And so when I went back to work, I'm like, that's interesting. They didn't fire me, which means they know something that they can't fire me. And so I kept going to work. I kept seeing these babies dying or being born dead. And then I kept going out on these shows, podcasts, different reporters calling me in. And then it got, and then right before Christmas in 2022, right after that investigative meeting, everybody was to receive a retention bonus if you had remained employed for the 2 years during COVID. And you were supposed to receive that bonus right before Christmas, 2 days before Christmas in 2022. And when all the nurses got their bonus, they're like, oh, we're gonna go shopping and pay off our bills and stuff like that. And I checked and I saw that I didn't get one. So I called the HR person who had investigated me, and I said, hey, I noticed I didn't get my retention bonus. Did something happen? And she said, oh yeah, we decided not to give it to you because you broke the rules when you shared that email. And I was like, that's funny. That sounds like retaliation to me. And she's like, oh, no, it's...
Right?
She said, oh, no, it's not retaliation. It's based on our discretion or something like that. And I was like, that's retaliation. I'm like, okay, how much are you going to gaslight me? I'm not stupid. And so, anyway, I'm like, that's fine. I'll remember that. And then when I found out, I asked a few nurses around me, how much was that bonus? They said $6,666.
What the what?
Right. I'm telling you the story. Exactly, Logan. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't want your evil money. I knew in that moment that I will be repaid with God's money, God's blessings. I don't need to worry, And so I kept going to work, and then all of 2023 and 2024, it got a little quiet. I mean, the babies were still being born dead at the same rate. But the COVID vaccine kind of craziness or trendiness, I guess, had kind of quieted down. And then in the meantime, I was giving informed consent to all these mothers. And then some people started complaining about me to my boss. And then in May, a family member had complained saying that I'm giving misinformation, I'm talking mothers out of giving the hepatitis B vaccine, and that claiming that the only way you get it is through sexual transmission. And so my boss called me into her office and she explained this complaint that was received formally through the website. And I was like, yeah, that's correct. And then I think she was expecting me to be like, oh no, I didn't say that. No, I did say that. It's true. I'm giving informed consent. I am not going to harm a baby. I'm not going to give a hepatitis B vaccine. It has 250 micrograms of aluminum in it, and the FDA says don't give more than, or anything more than 18 micrograms in an 8-pound baby is not safe. It's toxic. I said, so I am not going to give that dose to a newborn. It's harming them. And my boss said, I know you have your beliefs, but you need to do what's required of you per the institution. And so, no, I don't just follow orders or follow policies anymore because all I heard when my mom was being murdered was, oh, we're doing this because it's our policy, basically. And so, I was really frustrated with that meeting. And I literally cannot not give informed consent at this point. I just, in my conscience, I just can't. I have to tell these mothers, look, your baby does not need this. If for some reason they still want the vaccine, I don't care. They're not going to get this hepatitis B vaccine. And so, anyway, I went to New York a little bit after that complaint happened. And this was in September 2024. And I met with Mary Holland, the CEO of Children's Health Defense. She's amazing. And yes, thank you to her. She said, hey, if it gets really bad in California, you need to call me and we can probably help you. And so I said, thank you, I'll keep that in mind. And then, I came back, I kept working. And then another family member complained and for the same thing. And so then I called Mary and I said, hey, I need help over here. So she connected me with Greg Glaser, and he's here in California. And he called me, he listened to my story, and then he wrote a letter to Children's Health Defense proposing that, if we start a lawsuit and file a complaint, if they will fund this lawsuit for us so we can just bring the truth out and save babies and just do the right thing, And so Children's Health Defense wrote back and they said yes, that they will fund a lawsuit. It was such a huge blessing. When I received that news, I fell to my knees and I thanked God because I'm just so grateful to be able to be in this position, to just protect these babies and, also do what my mom wanted me to do. So we filed a complaint in August, and it's to file, the complaint is for unethical business practices because they have data, they have numbers of dead babies, and this is a huge public health emergency, and it's also for retaliation against a whistleblower. And the crazy thing is the retaliation part is if it weren't for the fact that they retaliated, we wouldn't even be able to file this complaint about the unethical business practices. So it's the huge blessing that they kept that check from me because that's what got us in the door. And so thank you for that to the HR person. And so yeah, we filed the complaint and then we had a first court date a couple months ago, and we had put out a video inviting everybody to come because it's a public health thing and the public wants to be there. And then that day, they postponed it. And so whoever had planned on going that day, obviously they had to cancel. And one woman drove from Washington and had to go back. But then when we went back, it was for arbitration. So I guess when I became employed, I signed a contract to go through arbitration so that this would not be like a public health thing. And so we tried to argue that, but the judge awarded the other side. So we are going through arbitration. So it's not quite the news that we wanted. We wanted a public jury trial. And that's not what we're getting, but it's okay because God has a plan. And so the whole time, people are like, so what are you suing for? And I'm just like, I'm just suing for the babies. I just want the truth to come out because, the fact that there's a record of the number of dead babies, I guess after they investigated me, the person who wrote the email went back and checked, and it was 95% of the vaccinated mothers. 95% of the demises had COVID vaccinated mothers. And so that document right there, that needs to be available to the public. And so hopefully with this case, that will become available. So even though mothers aren't really getting the COVID vaccine anymore, there are still babies being born dead every day. So we're in 2026 now. And every time I go to work, there's a dead baby. And so, we just need to fight back, which I do believe the tides are turning, and I think nurses are starting to fight back, like I was saying, yesterday. We did have a meeting recently too, where my boss had all of us nurses together in a room, and my boss started off the subject with, okay, your opinions are very welcome, and this is a safe place. And then she said, when it comes to the hepatitis B vaccine, if the parents have questions, make sure you refer them to the doctor. And a couple nurses started perking up. They're like, no, if the baby's not at risk, because I've been telling them this for years now. They're like basically saying what I've been telling them. Amazing that they're speaking up. But the nurses were like, if the babies aren't at risk and the baby's not sexually active, they don't want it, what is the big deal? When the parents refuse, the doctors go in there and they fearmonger them. My boss was like, I know you have your concerns, and you just need to let them have the conversation with their doctor. And then I said, a lot of your nurses are not comfortable giving that shot. They believe it's harming a baby. Do you not care about how your nurses feel? And then she was like, right. And she was like, this isn't the platform for that, Michelle. Always shutting me down. And so when I left that meeting, I felt super frustrated again for a minute. But then I also felt oh my God, those nurses were speaking up and they were fighting back. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And then I think Ron wanted me to share too that recently there was a baby that was born on comfort care, and the baby survived for about 2 hours. And the mother just held the baby. It was really sad. And before the baby passed away, the doctors wanted the baby to have the RSV shot and the hepatitis B shot.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this has happened in other places. In the documentary Shot Dead, they talk about one of the babies that was born, and they gave the baby the shots, and the baby was already going to pass away. But so it happens a lot. But the good thing is the nurse that had that baby that day refused. She said, no, I'm not doing that. And the doctors were pushing back. Yeah. So,
you mentioned the part where you went into HR and about the Hep B.
Oh, yes.
Body had just taken it off the schedule.
So I was put under corrective action again. I was written up again on December 5th. December 5th is the day that RFK said to remove the hepatitis B vaccine from the childhood schedule at 9 a.m. All these people started texting me. My phone was blowing up at 9 in the morning at work. And they're like, woohoo, And I was so excited. And then at 10 a.m., I got called into my boss's office. And they're like, yeah, we're writing you up because you refused to provide standard of care. You said you refused to give the hepatitis B vaccine. And I said, no, I don't refuse to provide standard of care. I refuse to harm a baby. I said, injecting 250 micrograms of aluminum is causing harm. I'm not going to do it. And they're like, yeah, well, that's refusing standard of care, so we're writing you up. Do you have any questions? And I said, yeah, did you hear the news today? I was so excited to tell him. And he said, I don't care about the news, I don't care about the CDC, and I don't care about the FDA. All I care about is that you're doing what's required of you and you're following the standard of care. Yeah.
Which they get their information from the CDC.
I know. And so I walked out with this write-up. So I'm under corrective action again. So Greg anticipates that I will be fired soon. One more write-up and I'll be done. But it's okay because God's going to decide when my time on postpartum is done. And while I'm there, I'm going to continue to tell parents why vaccinating your children is harmful. I have seen way too many children with vaccine injuries to know that vaccines absolutely harm 100%.
Wow, your courage, your tenacity is just unprecedented and so inspiring. We can open it up now for just a short Q&A if you'd like, if anyone has any questions for Michelle. Okay.
Michelle, I just adore you, you know that. So Dr. Thorpe, the high-risk OBGYN that we both know, talks about how they're pushing the Tdap shot on pregnant women in their third trimester and the flu vaccine all over the place. Do you see that at your hospital, and do you think that's why you're still seeing these fetal demise?
Yes, I do, 100%, because they push the Tdap vaccine at 28 weeks, and we have more babies in NICU, like right at 29 weeks, than like almost any other gestation. So the mothers will get Tdap vaccines or flu vaccines around that gestation, and then they deliver their baby. If their baby is born alive, they go to NICU. The hospital makes a lot of money if their babies are in NICU. So yes, definitely, and that's why even though mothers aren't getting the COVID vaccine anymore, they're still getting vaccinated while pregnant. Vaccines during pregnancy are never safe. Never. Ever.
It never has been safe.
No.
Okay, I've got another
Never safe.
microphone here.
Michelle, I'd love to ask you which hospital you work for so we can avoid it like the plague, but I have a feeling that all hospitals are doing this, and who is setting that precedent and that standard, and are they making them put in these protocols? If so, who?
Well, it's Fresno community, which I can say publicly because the lawsuit and everything, but who's putting these in place? I don't know. Is it, we don't even know, because if you ask questions, they're like, oh, well, it's our policy. We're just following protocol. Well, whose protocol?
Yeah.
Who writes these protocols?
Big pharma owners.
Yeah. Big pharma. Right, and when you try to fight back, they just shut you down. But we're growing in numbers, and they're not going to be able to shut us down for much longer.
That's right.
Hi, Michelle. I'm going from county to county, telling the Board of Supervisors to stop promoting, administering, and distributing COVID-19 vaccines. If you were, for example, standing before, like, Butte County Board of Supervisors, what would you tell them why the COVID-19 shots should be stopped? Thank you.
Because they're killing people. We have dead babies every day. And prior to 2021, we did not have this problem. We went from 4 per year, 4 stillborns per year, to 4 per week at least. Yeah, they're killing people. It's causing destruction. It's causing carnage. Yeah.
Okay, I see a question over here.
I don't need that. I don't know you. I don't know what information that you put out. I just want to know, is it possible, if you haven't, can you take all this information that you've shared and get a book? Because that could be a bestseller, and that could be how God supplements your income.
We're working on it.
I've thought about that. I need help writing a book. That's a great idea. I've had a few people ask if I have a book.
Millions of people that need to know this knowledge.
Right. I'll need to do that. I'll get on that.
Hi, I'm Judy, and I'm actually a retired intensive care nursery nurse and also an advice nurse. And when I first started at the advice nurse, the main thing with pediatrics was the vaccines. And I thought, what the heck? It was like the main thing. And I left there like 8 years ago, so it was before COVID and before I watched the Vax movie and saw that all vaccines are poison. I don't even call them vaccines anymore. But everywhere I go, I'm trying to educate people and let them know, and I'll see like a pregnant woman, or I'll see people with babies, and sometimes I get the chance to say something, but sometimes, like there was a woman at the grocery store pregnant, but she was in the next aisle, and had somebody in front of me. I was trying to get to her, and I couldn't, and I thought, oh my God, what if her baby gets vaccine damaged? And is there some great thing that you think I can say to try to open the conversation when I'm not just happen to be next to them, to try to, other than you don't want to kill your baby with vaccines? I sometimes don't have the best opening sometimes, so.
It's hard. Keep planting those seeds, and thank you for doing that. And just kind of like kill them with kindness, because the general public who hasn't really thought about this yet, they're a little bit hesitant to receive the information. So like yesterday, when I told this patient, I was like, by the way, you don't have hepatitis B, so your baby can't get hepatitis B, so you can wait on that shot for a long time, read about it, research. Like, I get really I try to make it sound positive, and then she's like, yeah, I want to wait. And so, I don't know, it's hard though, because a lot of people who haven't been injured, they don't know, and so they resist the information. So I'm trying to bridge that gap, but I find that, I don't know, I was trying to be really positive, and then she was like, oh, okay, receiving it that way. Good question.
Hi, Michelle, one of
Hi.
your favorite fans. I so appreciate your courage, and it's contagious. The way you light up a room, the way you're able to turn this in a positive is very important. So to second that on how to begin a conversation, because I too, when I see either a mom carrying her baby in her womb or she's carrying her baby in her arms, it's like I get this, I have to say something. So what I started doing is our lovely friend Heidi Bond, who is another warrior, she had these Vax Shop Dead or Watch the Movies cards. And so just for example, one day I was just getting my card detailed and I was just waiting on the bench, and then the woman next to me has these small children, these babies, and she's carrying another baby, and all I could do is just hand her this card, and it struck a conversation. And it eased me up in conscience just to know that at least I was able to pass her something that would then begin a conversation, right? And so this takes us back to 2022 when a group of us showed up at Clovis Community Hospital, and we literally were trying to get my friend's father out. He was being held hostage, basically, and on the hospital protocol, given remdesivir. He was not wanting to get remdesivir, and so that's when my eyes were wide open to say, these hospitals are, sorry to say, but they are putting profit before patients, and when you literally have got to go and rescue people out of the hospital, I cannot understand how anyone in good conscience could even live with that. I don't care how much. They denied you $6,666. Well, you know what? God's going to multiply that. And He's going to stand with you because you're standing for truth. So we will never, never be quiet when truth is being denied. And even to the most vulnerable, to the children here today that are vaccine injured, my heart goes out to these parents, because I too am, I have a niece. She's got 3 boys. 2 of her boys are vaccine injured and diagnosed with autism. And it was the 3rd baby where God just had me give her my first conversation with her, not even knowing, Michelle, that that little baby she was holding, her 3rd baby, was going to go get his 6-month vaccine that Friday.
Oh, wow.
And she said, wait. She just said, wait.
Good.
And now she's just a little more open about saying, oh, maybe, Auntie, maybe you kind of know what you're talking about. So it's just these conversations, because, with Heidi's group, she's still out there. Those of us who have the time to go out there, she's still in the corners on Fridays, in front of Kaiser, in front of St. Agnes, in front of Clovis Community, with her banners, trying to educate and bring awareness to the community.
Plant those seeds.
Plant the seeds, yes. So keep going forward, and I'm thanking everybody here today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I always carry cards around in my purse, and when I'm shopping, I see a mother and I just hand them a card, whether it's, CHD card, something from another organization. I just always have something, and I just say, hey, mom to mom, can I just give you some information? And that usually goes well. Sometimes I have people come back and say, hey, I don't vaccinate. And then we, exchange numbers and we become best friends. But it's just always wonderful to just know that you've told them the truth, and they can, what they do with it is up to them, but they have some information to go home and look at. How about if we take just a few more questions, maybe questions only? Okay.
Actually, I need my phone. COVID-19 vaccine, it wasn't even FDA approved, was it?
No.
So, I mean, how could it have been forced on these people? It wasn't FDA approved, number one. Number two is, how many doctors at your hospital even really know what the ingredients are in vaccines?
They
Do
don't.
you have any idea?
I doubt any of them know what's in there.
They will though. Bobby changed that. He's putting it in medical schools that they have to know. So
Oh,
thank
good.
God.
Say that again?
Oh, sorry. Doctors know nothing about what is in the vaccines or what damage it does unless they see it themselves and go in denial. But right now it's stopped, or will stop, because Bobby Kennedy is making the doctors learn vaccine ingredients and learn the vaccine schedule and, work on it from there. So it is getting better as of now. But a lot of damage has already been done. I mean, to my son, to his son, to all these families. And she's being very conservative on the number of deaths that have gone on. It's way more than that. And this is just one hospital. This is one hospital.
And only what I see when I work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And only when, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy. It should not be happening at all. Oh, sorry about that.
She had one.
That's a question. Okay, I'll get back to you. Are there other nurses that are reporting the same information as publicly as you are?
No, I've asked many nurses to speak with me. I said, you see what's going on, you see the numbers, and will you speak with me outspoken, or speak to my attorney?
Yeah.
And they all say, no, I don't want to lose my job.
And so nowhere else in the world either?
I think there's a couple of whistleblowers. Kimberly Biss is speaking out. She's an OBGYN. There's a few like that Dr. Thorpe knows in Florida, different areas, yeah. But it's disheartening that I've asked many people that I work with, and they all say the same thing.
Yeah, we need more whistleblowers for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, question over here.
2 questions. First, my wife.
Do we know if there's going to be any legislation in our state, which is kind of hopeless, to do something? Because people, like I've tried to speak to my daughter, and when I'm finally getting through, the only answer that I hear from moms is, well, my kids won't be able to go to school, and then I won't be able to go to work, and I can't afford to stay home, blah, blah, blah. And even if their heart's desire is to be able to do that, they may not be able to afford it or whatever. But the point being is, that's always the answer. My kids can't go to school.
It's like slavery. We have to find a way. We have to homeschool, build our own communities, like that. But some people don't have that resource. Is there going to be a legislation that changes that? I don't know. I'm hoping. But like we're in California, but hopefully it's in the works. Greg is working on a case right now too to try to remove the vaccine mandates to go to school. And so that's in the works. And so maybe in the next 2 years, hopefully that'll be done. And even that's not good enough. I mean, it's hopeful, but it's like they need to just remove them. Like stop giving them altogether, Because some parents don't know, and then some don't know that there's like exemptions. Whereas if they are able to remove these mandates, they probably can say remove them, but you have to have an exemption because in California we don't have any exemptions. But they need to just remove them. But that's what I'm saying is if Greg is able to make this go through, then it'll be like probably with an exemption. But if the parents don't even know about that, then they'll still get vaccinated. But I don't know. Hopefully they remove them altogether, and that's part of the reason I speak out too. Is I'm just trying to get these removed. That's my end goal here is to get all of the vaccines removed. Yep. Yeah.
I heard you say that I heard you say they try to make you take the COVID vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you say that you didn't take it, but yet you didn't get fired.
Correct.
There's hundreds of thousands of scared nurses and MAs and people that are taking the vaccine because of fear for losing their job. What was it that you did, or what could you share to these other people that would give them a little confidence to not take this? Because they're in turn, they may not be having the baby that is passing it on, but they're still in dire needs of help themselves after taking the COVID.
Well, I treat vaccine injuries with Nayette, which was what I treated my mom with her blood pressure. So I'm able to help with vaccine injuries. And then Dr. Thorpe has a protocol to help to remove the spike protein. And plus Julie knows some resources too. But they did threaten to fire us. They said if you don't get the vaccine by October of 2021, you'll be fired and you won't qualify for unemployment. And then I was just like, well, just fire me then, because I am not getting it. I just felt like something will work out and I'll be okay. And then after that date that we were supposed to get it, all these nurses, they went and got it because they were scared. And then after that date, they're like, oh, we're just kidding. We're not firing anybody, basically. I mean, they didn't say it exactly like that. But then they made us test twice a week, which I was like, well, they're not going to shove that thing up my nose. I'm not going to let that happen because it hurts. And they had done it like once or twice and you go all the way up your brain, you know? And so when I would go to get my test twice a week, the guy would hand me the swab and then he'd turn like this. And so I'm like, okay, here you go. And so it's like he knew too.
Yeah.
So we had to test twice a week. Everybody who got the COVID vaccine still got COVID. Everybody who didn't get the COVID vaccine still got COVID. Exactly, because they were just swabbing everybody. And so it's like, why are you making me test twice a week? They had COVID, you know, and it didn't make any sense.
They're protected.
Right, because they got the vaccine. So it didn't make sense. Nothing about that time made sense. But I do treat vaccine injuries using Nayette. I have some cards up here. It's like acupressure, like I treated Jaden earlier. I've treated Julie, treated Adam. I love doing treatments, but it's an energetic way to reverse imbalanced energies in your body through acupressure. So by doing this, it helps your body to release things and detox energetically, like at the cellular level. It's pretty amazing. And I helped my mom with her blood pressure this way too. So I encourage everybody to take a card up here. And then also the magazine up here too, it tells my story. So I signed all of those, so you're all welcome to take a magazine too.
Yeah, we do have lots of information up here that you can, like the flyers you can take for free, so please help yourself and check out our table. I think there was one more question. But while I'm walking over here to get these last two questions, tell us how we can best support you and the case. Is it to give to the Children's Health Defense Legal Fund, or is there another way, or two ways, or let us know?
Yeah, the best way to support is show up. And I love, speaking out. So if you guys need, if you have a place, you can talk to Juliana, and I can go speak out to a group. And then, yes, the Children's Health Defense Legal Fund. I believe there's probably a link over here. If you want to donate, you're welcome to, of course. And then, just keep planting those seeds. I know it's scary. You're going to get resistance, but it gets easier. The more you speak out, it does. It truly does.
Hello, thank you again for being here and doing what you're doing. You're quite a crusader, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
My question is, the 95 percentile of the women who did get injected with the COVID vaccine, was that percentage all of through their gestation, through their pregnancy, and they were vaccinated, or was it also they were vaccinated and then became pregnant? Are the results pretty much the same?
It was a little bit of both. So mothers in March of 2021, they would go to their OB doctor right when the shot was brand new, and they would get it in March, and it was like a week later, they're in the hospital delivering a dead baby, no matter what gestation they are. Now, it doesn't matter what gestation they are, they're delivering stillborns, even if they got the shot in 2021. And so, but then there's also miracles. There's mothers who have gotten lots of shots and they still have healthy babies. So there's still a miracle happening. I don't want everybody to be scared and think like, oh my gosh, I can't have babies now. But it's definitely happening at a rate of 4 times per week compared to 4 times per year. And then, you know, mothers are getting the Tdap vaccine and the flu vaccine while pregnant now too. And so they might get the Tdap vaccine and a week later go in and deliver their baby and baby goes to NICU. And so they just need to not get any more vaccines.
Yep.
And we were just talking earlier that the McCullough Foundation has been doing studies, and there's a breaking study that shows that the mRNA and spike protein invade the human placenta and the fetal cells, even in mothers vaccinated before pregnancy. So some of the statistics among that, or like with that, are 37% of the placentas from vaccinated mothers with no infection contain spike protein. Oh, thank you, my camera. And 77% of spike positive placentas had spike inside fetal immune cells. Spike detected in fetal blood vessel cells, or was detected in fetal blood vessel cells, and the vaccine mRNA and spike protein found in placentas were even before vaccination occurred before pregnancy. So you can look that up. Just look up the McCullough Foundation, and I'm sure all their studies are on there. But we had another question over here.
I just had a comment about the exemptions in California. If your child has an IEP or a medical exemption, you can still ask for those. They don't volunteer that information, but those are exemptions you might want to share with your daughter.
Okay, something I wanted to do, just because we are talking about such a tender subject of losing babies, was I thought we could just take a moment of silence and light a candle for all of these babies. Because we have to remember there are families grieving, and you know, that's actually part of my personal story. I believe that I was vaccine injured I was actually part of a trial in my 20s where I did a pertussis trial, so I'm sure I got the Tdap. And years later, I kind of connected the dots that with the sterilization of all the women in Kenya from the Tdap shot, I thought, well, what if that's what happened to me? And so I dealt with a decade of infertility in my own personal life and miscarriages and loss. So it's a really hard, isolating journey. And I know that you ministering to those parents in the hospital and in their darkest hour has got to be just, you know, heart-wrenching. And so I'm going to tell you about a resource. But I thought first, before we do that, let's just light a candle and take a moment to think about these families and the babies that are lost. So I'll get that set up. Thank you for doing that with me. And thank you, Sandy, for catching the lights. So I just wanted to share that a dear friend of mine from college also had a stillbirth many years ago, over I think 25 years ago. Her name is Candy McVicker, and she and her husband started the Missing Grace Foundation, which is an incredible resource for these families. They've put together gift baskets that are used in hospitals and given to families in their darkest hour when they've lost a baby. These are care packages that will allow the parents to go home without completely empty arms. And they're just beautiful, thoughtful gifts. We've actually got a sample of one over here on our table today that I'm going to send Michelle home with, just so that, you know, in her work, and just that she'll have that as a resource, and maybe her hospital will want to, you know, have those. But it's also something that we can do if we know any of these families who have lost a baby. We can go to missinggrace.org. We can order a gift basket, and or books or resources, because these families are hurting. They've just lost their dreams, and you know, as they're putting together the pieces just of how this happened or why, this is just a beautiful way to just minister to them and help them. So on our table, we've got some free flyers about Missing Grace that you can take with you. If you know someone, you know, who's lost a baby recently, you can, you know, maybe order some of these books for the family. But just keep that in the back of your mind, because with the statistics being what they are, we're all going to know somebody at some point who has lost a baby in this way. And so just wanted to, you know, put that out there and share that with you. It's missinggrace.org. So is there anything else you wanted to say? And then I've got some thank yous to make sure we acknowledge people who helped with today.
I thought of something when you were holding the candle. When Greg was talking in court a couple of weeks ago, he was telling the judge really, really good stuff. The judge was listening, you know, explaining why this is a public health emergency. And then the minute he said the COVID vaccine is harming pregnant women, the judge changed. His face went flat, like cold. And then I was like, uh-oh, like that's not good. And then I looked at Greg, and I saw all these angel babies all around him. And so Greg was like talking away, making good points, and I didn't even hear a word he said. Because I saw all these babies. I was like, oh my God, that's a beautiful sight. And right now when you were holding the candle, I don't know, I kind of felt that. So I wanted to share.
That brings up a good point too. It is spiritual. This is a spiritual battle. That's at the crux of what this
Amen.
is. So, yeah.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. Let's thank her. Let's give her a huge round of applause. And I do want to also just thank Children's Health Defense for the work that they're doing internationally, but also in California. So we've got some cards here. Make sure you're following our social media for California so you can hear about events like today. And we're on Instagram and Facebook right now for the California. But then Children's Health Defense is on X and everywhere you can find, you know, social media. So please also, there's a clipboard. You can sign up for our California chapter newsletters to hear about events in California. Please, again, just a reminder, if you feel led to donate today after this free event, you can donate to Children's Health Defense Legal Fund. You can find that just on the regular website, children'shealthdefense.org. And there, just a reminder again, you can take flyers for Missing Grace and the magazine that Michelle's article is in, and her information personally for the work she does. Huge thank you to Jason David and Jaden's Journey for letting us have this event here. He's an amazing warrior dad in our community who has the biggest heart I've ever seen. So I always just want to thank you so much for all you do. And then also the person who donated our microphones and speakers today, that was all donated. His name is James Scott. He couldn't be here today because he's working, but if you are local and you need a great DJ or a great photo booth person, he is your guy. His company is called DJ Leroy Productions, and it's DJ like the DJs, and then Leroy, Leroy Productions. So please just make a mental note of that if you need photo booth or DJ for your fun events. So thank you so much, Michelle, for coming here with your beautiful family, and thank you everyone who came to join us today. This is shared on several social media platforms. My personal Facebook, Rachel Williams, Juliana Pierce, her personal Facebook, and some other people. So just talk to these guys here if you want to find their live streams as well. Hopefully it all live streamed well. And thank you so much for being here today.